How long does it take to reverse diabetes? But by his third day of eating and exercising Pritikin-style, his blood sugar had plummeted to normal, non-diabetic levels. By the third day, it happened that quickly, recalls the Pritikin guest. And by the third day, I got this burst of energy, says Jeff. I felt as good as I did when I was in high school. And all this without taking any medications, just eating healthy and exercising. That's all it was. Not everyone's blood sugar, glucose, tumbles as quickly as Jeff's, but there is plenty of research affirming that a healthy diet like the Pritikin eating plan combined with daily exercise can profoundly reduce blood sugar levels in just 2 to 3 weeks' time. Prevention of diabetes. There is also strong science showing that a healthy lifestyle like Pritikin can prevent pre-diabetes from developing into full-blown diabetes. Pre-diabetes is defined as having a fasting glucose between 100 and 125. Diabetes is a fasting glucose of 126 or higher. Foods that fight diabetes. Pritikin eating means focusing on whole foods that are naturally rich in fiber and naturally low in fats, sugars, and industrial refinement. Pritikin foods are vegetables, whole fruits, not juice, whole grains, legumes such as beans and peas, non-fat dairy foods, and moderate servings of lean meat such as fish, skinless chicken breast, and game meat like bison and venison. How long does it take to reverse diabetes? The science. About 20 years ago, scientists began discovering how quickly diabetes could be reversed. Researchers at UCLA tracked men and women with type 2 diabetes who had attended the Pritikin Longevity Center, where they learned and adopted healthy Pritikin food and fitness habits. 3 weeks among the 652 people studied, 240 were new diabetics, that is, they had only recently been diagnosed with the disease, they were not yet taking any medications. Within an average of 3 weeks at Pritikin, the blood sugar, glucose, levels of these newly diagnosed diabetics had fallen from an average of 164 mg per deciliter to 124. Among the diabetics who were taking oral drugs, 197 in total, the great majority, 71%, had lowered their blood sugar to the point where the drugs were no longer needed, and were discontinued. At the time, 1994, a fasting glucose below 140 mg per deciliter meant you no longer had diabetes. Today, the threshold is below 126 mg per deciliter. The need for early emphasis. Those in the advanced stages of the disease and taking insulin, 212 people, improved as well, but not nearly as well as the other two groups. That's why the UCLA scientists titled their study, Diet and Exercise in the Treatment of NIDDM, Type 2 Diabetes, The Need for Early Emphasis. Food, fitness, and prevention of diabetes. Bottom line, there is much we can do with a healthy lifestyle alone, no medications needed, to prevent diabetes, states Dr. James Barnard, Distinguished Professor Emeritus at UCLA and author of more than 200 studies on the relationship between lifestyle habits and chronic diseases like diabetes. In fact, a healthy lifestyle has proven more effective than medication in staving off diabetes. In a landmark study, the NIH-sponsored Diabetes Prevention Program 2, scientists followed 3,234 men and women with prediabetes for 3 years. 1/3 of them adopted lifestyle changes that were similar to the Pritikin program, a daily eating plan of low-calorie dense, high-fiber foods, exercising for at least 30 minutes 5 days a week, and a 7% weight loss. Another third of these pre-diabetics took a drug, metformin glucophage. The remaining third, the control group, took a placebo. The results? Those on the lifestyle change plan reduced the progression to full-blown type 2 diabetes by 58% compared to the control group. The reduction was even greater, 71% among those aged 60 years or older. Treatment with the drug metformin reduced the progression to type 2 diabetes by just 31%. Put simply, lifestyle changes were nearly twice as effective as medication in preventing prediabetes from turning into diabetes. Heredity need not be destiny. Many people think they're destined for lifetime struggles with excess weight, a major risk factor for diabetes, and ultimately diabetes because it's in my genes. They had parents or grandparents who were overweight and had diabetes. And sure, genetic factors predispose some of us to become fatter than others, but for most Americans, heredity need not be destiny, argues Dr. Deneen Fruge, MD, ABFP, medical director and educator at the Pritikin Longevity Center. Hostile environment. The primary reason that growing numbers of Americans are seriously overweight and diabetic is not genes. It's our Western, industrialized environment. We drive rather than walk. We choose elevators over stairs. And we wolf down fast food burgers instead of fruit, veggies, beans, and whole grains. We live in a society, in short, that promotes excessive calorie intake and body fat accumulation, even in those of us who have only a weak genetic predisposition to put on weight, explains Kimberly Gomer, MS, Road, LDN, Director of Nutrition and Educator at the Pritikin Longevity Center. The story of the Pima Indians. The fattest people on Earth. The Pimas of Arizona are among the fattest groups of people in the world. The only populations more obese are people living on some isolated Pacific islands. On the Gila River Reservation in Arizona, children as young as 6 and 7 are so obese they cannot run. They lumber across baseball fields, out of breath before they get to first base. Highest rates of diabetes worldwide among Pima Indians over age 35 in Arizona. The rate of type 2 diabetes is 8 times the national average. In fact, the prevalence of diabetes on the reservation is the highest recorded anywhere in the world. By age 50, nearly 60% of the Pimas in Arizona have type 2 diabetes. Cokes, cheeseburgers, Twinkies. What are these Arizona Pimas eating? Like many Americans, their diet is largely fats, sugars, and refined flours, Cokes, cheeseburgers, pepperoni pizza, Twinkies, and Oreos. What's their exercise? Not much. Nowadays their farm, a large collective enterprise, is run primarily by machinery. Most are employed in offices at the tribal government or at the reservation's casino. The Pimas of rural Mexico, thin, strong. By contrast, the Pima Indians of rural Mexico tend to be thin, wiry, and strong. They work the land, like generations before them, with their hands and simple tools. Their diet consists almost entirely of the foods they grow: beans, potatoes, corn, tortillas, seasonal vegetables like zucchini, squash, tomatoes, garlic, and green peppers, and fruit, especially peaches and apples. Once a month, maybe, they eat a free-range chicken. Very low rates of diabetes. In marked contrast to the Arizona Pimas, less than 4% of the Pimas from rural Mexico develop type 2 diabetes, and in Mexico it's found primarily in people over 50 years of age. Thanks for your watching. Check out description and comment. Subscribe me.